back old memories?
You won't get anything from me. My memory's been wiped to protect
the security of the mission. Yes. You can't have your precious memory falling into the wrong hands now, can you? Tell me, have you ever met a scav up close? Of course not. You just repair drones. Don't go into the radiation zone. Don't ask too many questions. Not part of the job description. Lights. We're not alien, Jack. We're human. The bits protecting that one.
So yeah, that's a quote from the movie Oblivion, which is very enlightening. And in fact, when you see some of these movies, you'll begin to see. Oh, by the way, Morgan Freeman was quoting Horatius, which again, these old time philosophies and philosophers. It's just like in The Matrix. Keanu Reeves plays, of course, Neo. And Socrates, in my opinion, was the Neo of his time. And Diogenes, who actually is to whom we can attribute some of our most true knowledge of Socrates. But anyway, like I was saying, the media, some of these, they come out in the guise of a good movie. But they teach us lessons. They tell us what we're supposed to do, what the people are supposed to do. So, just what is it we're supposed to do? For one, we need to start paying attention again to this media. There's a prevailing theory that there are key words in the popular mainstream media that send messages to people who, when they hear these key words and key phrases, they kind of know what to do. Certain news events are markers for actions and reactions. And there are people who are in the know that when this event occurs, you need to begin to move your money. You need to begin to enact the plan of as many rich people, especially heads of banks, have been buying property in other countries, and on these properties, houses are being built, but they're all underground. And I mean, just look up, just see how much a former military bunker or a missile silo goes for, and you'll come across eventually the refurbishing of these to be places in which to live underground. Some are communities, some are, multi-family, and some are for, just one family. But these things are going for a ton of money, while the money still has a value. But if we want to decrease the value of money, and that should be a goal for the reasons that I'll explain. But yes, we need to pay attention. Explore the concept of following the money. literally, if you want to see who's in control, even in Smallville, America, examine the budget of whatever town, county you live in. See, I used to work for the city of Georgetown here in Kentucky, and I can tell you two recyclables. These recyclables are placed in these giant boxes and placed on pallets, and they go into to a processing center in Lexington, actually. So one day, I just sat and calculated the area of the boxes and of the trailer. And I showed how by simply loading the trailer differently, there could have been savings in the thousands of dollars per month. Thousands of dollars. That simply, and this is scientific management. Back when I was in school, back when I was at the University of Kentucky, that term was pretty well known. Scientific management. It's increasing the efficiency of whatever your product is. I mean, Henry Ford, is the founder of scientific management, at least here in this country. The assembly line. So, back then, I'm delusional and I think, okay, hey, wow, I just calculated this. This is going to save money. This is the kind of thing you're supposed to be noticed for doing. These are the kinds of employees you want to have. Those that can save money, and not that. That's just the shipping. They didn't calculate, the savings in manual labor. They didn't even take that. It took gas, the trailer, the truck that would come to get the trailer. Anyway, these are the employees you want who can look at something you're doing and turn it, figure out how they can just change a tiny little thing and save you money. But you know what happened? When I presented this to my supervisors, I was pretty much instantly shot down. Why? Because if you save that department money, their budget decreases. Now, this was during a time when there were constant threats from city council to shut down the entire recycling center anyway. And honestly, I was actually supposed to go full time and get benefits. But Karen Tingle Sames, the genius of a mayor she's an absolute idiot in my opinion. But she kept shooting down my full time. So benefits and all that stuff, everything you kind of need to live, at least in this society. But see, her ignorance was fuel for where I am now. In fact, it was because of full-size trailers later. But if some hick town in Kentucky will reject an idea that would put more resources into the hands of those who actually need it, simply because of greed and corruption, then what makes you think this doesn't happen on a national level? Of course it does. On a global level. I mean, we just live our lives knowing that the politicians are crooked. A lot of them do go in there with the desire to make a change. But they also know that when you're a politician, whether you're, a city councilman or a city council member or the president, you're going to get kickbacks. You always get kickbacks. So you see all this progress we've been led to believe that was occurring over the past 40 years is an absolute farce. It's utter hypocrisy. Oh, progress has been made, without a doubt. That's why Walmart is the monster it is. So what would I love to see happen? What needs to happen to begin the change is independence on the individual level. See, this world around us absolutely reeks of convenience. I know, a sentence like that, it sounds crazy. Well, who wouldn't want things more convenient? But what does that convenience cost you? You hungry? Pull into McDonald's. Need socks and light bulbs? Drive into Walmart or Target. They have everything you need. See, this is where they have you locked. You are a prisoner of the monetary system. How do I know? Because I am a prisoner of the monetary system. You think there's no other way to exist? Go to the reservation. I mean, it's I mean, it's not a perfect system. I mean, the bartering it, like I said, is still alive. In other uploads I've said, bartering is still well alive. But here's what I would like to see happen. We need, as a country, as a people, to make a return to that mom and pop world, that era when it comes to shopping. The little stores, the family stores. See, just a few miles from here, there's a family owned meat processing center. And it's a very small thing. It's called Highview Meats. And hunters actually take their deer there to get processed if they don't just do it themselves. Because a lot of people will just hunt the deer and they may not even really care about, having the meat. They just want the hunt. So the idea of having super fresh, obviously, meat from these stores because they sell, the meat there. They'll process your deer, they'll sell the meat, they sell other stuff too. It's been a long time since I've been down that way. But here are your friends, family, neighbors out hunting, providing meat. If you shop there, you're supporting a family. You're supporting your friends. I mean, if you live in this region, of course. But see, this is where it's applicable everywhere. Same thing with farmers markets. Why go buy, tomatoes at Walmart when, you can go to the farmers market and it came from a garden somewhere in your county. We need more farmers markets. In fact, what we really need is communities to gather, and take this food that hasn't sold. We need actually, and it doesn't matter whether it sells or not. The concept here is that these people who are growing their own food, they should actually grow food for plus funds. It doesn't matter what the newspaper or the local media tells you, but there's always a surplus. Somebody can take a cut and pay. You know, I know, but there are people who do. But what we need to do is return to a simpler time. Like I said, cater to the local producers instead of dependent on the big box. Turn your yard, in fact, into a garden. You don't have to be you don't have to have a giant farm to grow what you need. I have a couple friends of mine in Stamping Ground who, not long ago, I went to visit and went down into the cellar, and it was a small cellar, but I'll tell you, it was wall to wall with I don't know how many years, of canned food. I mean, a disaster could hit that area again, like in the 70s. They had 2 or 3 tornadoes hit right in downtown Stamping Ground, and these people would be fine. They have so much food stored. It's they could feed a lot of people, I'll tell you, and they actually do. They actually do. But like I said, you don't have to have a giant farm to grow what you need. We need to return to a time when kids learned